From the Jennings Communication Building on the campus of Dixie State University, this is Trailblazer Weekly.
Welcome inside Trailblazer Weekly on a Wednesday afternoon. We are live in the Jennings Communication Building on the campus of Dixie State University here in Studio A. I'm glad you joined us on today's episode. We have a loaded show for you today. We're going to have a few of the women's volleyball team join us. In fact, sisters Jordan Nilsson and McKenna Nilsson, along with head coach Robin Felder. It's all coming up on a packed Wednesday afternoon. But let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into it with our Blazer Beat. First things first on Blazer Beat, Derek Adkins has been named the new head coach of the women's track and field team. He spent last 2 seasons as an assistant coach in Western Carolina University. Exciting to have him join the Trailblazer family. One interesting note about Derek Adkins, he has competed in the Olympics. He was a semifinalist in Beijing in 2008 and in London in 2012. It's going to be fun to be able to talk to him. We'll do that soon on Trailblazer Weekly. Moving on, Trailblazers signed 18 players on National Signing Day across 6 different sports. The Trailblazers added 3 players for women's basketball, 1 player for men's basketball, 6 players for baseball, 5 players for softball, 2 for women's volleyball, and 1 for men's golf. It was a loaded day for National Signing Day the last couple of days. Going to be fun to welcome in these new players into Trailblazer athletics. Moving on to our final topic for question of the day. And that is the 2020 home game protocols have been released by Dixie State Athletics. For more information, go to dixiestateathletics.com. The short of it is they are going to allow a certain amount of fans into every game. If you are a student or a season ticket holder, you will be allowed access into those games. They will be limiting occupancy to about 1,000 fans. That includes members of the players' families and friends that they are inviting. Masks will be required and social distancing will be observed at all home games upcoming. That's men's basketball. Home games are right around the corner, so make sure you go to dixiestateathletics.com and get the full details on the social distancing protocols for all home games this season. But, hey, the good thing is at least we're going to have fans in some capacity for these home contests as we get going, as we're still transversing through this pandemic here in the state of Utah and worldwide. Let's move on into kind of the meat of this first segment. That's our question of the day. And obviously, as we get closer to the start of kind of the meat and potatoes, like I mentioned in last week's episode of this Division I season, it got me thinking to myself, what am I most excited for this first inaugural season in Division I? I came up with a few things that really gets me excited for this first season of Division I, and the first thing is honestly, I'm just more excited to see what the level of competition will be different between Division II and Division I. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of sports, football, basketball, maybe softball, baseball, a few of those more nationally recognized and nationally popular sports. I think will be where you'll see the most amount of difference between competition in the D1 and D2 levels. But I'm certainly interested to see what other sports might we see that difference in competition. Next up, the women's soccer season. I was one of the biggest advocates of being sad about not having to watch this women's soccer team after their South Central Region title last year. I'm really looking forward to seeing how those women are able to compete at the Division I level after such a successful season last year in Division II. The volleyball season. Obviously, we're going to have a few of the volleyball players and head coach Robin Felder on a little bit later in today's show. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this volleyball team competes at the Division I level. I've said it before, Robin Felder is one of the best coaches around. She's done a tremendous job here at Dixie State. I'm really excited to see what she can put together at the Division I level. In my opinion, this is just my unbiased opinion, I think volleyball may be the first sport to really seriously compete and be a threat in Division I. I think that's just a testament to Robin Felder and the program she runs. Next, the football season. I'm really excited to see Dixie State get their feet wet in Division I. They have games against a fellow newcomer into the WAC and a Division I Tarleton. It'll be fun to see how they match up with a team that's in their same shoes. They have 2 RMAC opponents that they are going to be Division II opponents. They better win those games, and it's going to be really fun to see how the football team can compete in Division I. But the thing I'm most excited about for this Division I season is men's basketball, and specifically the Trailblazers matchup against Gonzaga. Yeah, they are playing Gonzaga this season, and not only it's Gonzaga, but Gonzaga was named the number 1 team in the AP Coaches Preseason Poll. The number 1 team in all the land. Dixie State will play them this season. In fact, let's do a quick Rock Canyon Bank by the numbers on this Gonzaga team. In 2017, this Gonzaga team lost in the national championship game. In 2018, they lost in the Sweet 16 game. And in 2019, they lost in the Elite 8. So this is a team that over the years has been extremely competitive at the highest level of Division I college basketball. And even last season, the 2020 season that did not have a March Madness, they were 31-2 in that season. They finished the WCC as the conference title champions, and they were a number 2 team in the country, and they are likely going to be the number 1 team, number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament after a tremendous season. So that are the things I'm most excited about for this first season of Division I Dixie State, playing the number 1 team in all the land as far as the AP Coaches Preseason Poll. But we've got to take a timeout. When we come back, we will be talking with the sisters on women's volleyball, Jordan and McKenna Nilsson. Back after this timeout on Trailblazer Weekly.
Radio Dixie 91.3, Young the Giant, something to believe in.
John, what song do you want to hear?
Next, Miss Calindris. You'll be on the SWAT team, the best SWAT team.
Did a fantastic situation. I was going to talk to you last time.
Today's show is brought to you by the Dixie State Campus Store, the official source for DSU Trailblazer clothing, providing students with textbooks as well as educational, office, and art supplies. Located on the 2nd floor of the Gardner Center, the Dixie State Campus Store, proud sponsor of Trailblazer Weekly.
Welcome back inside Trailblazer Weekly as we continue on Wednesday afternoon, and we have a great couple of interviews coming up for you. We were able to catch up with sisters on the women's volleyball team, Jordan and McKenna Nilsson, and it was really fun to be able to talk to them. Jordan Nilsson will be up first. She is a senior setter on this year's volleyball team, and she was able to talk about the unlikely music that she listens to when she gets hyped for a game. You won't expect the answer that she gives for that. She also talks about one of the odd superstitions that she has in preparation when she's putting on her uniform. She has kind of a unique superstition like many athletes do, and you'll find that very interesting as well. Here's senior center Jordan Nilsson.
I came out of the womb playing volleyball. My mom played volleyball when we were in her stomach. It's just, we were born into it. I came to Dixie State because it was close to home. I'm from Arizona, so that was a big aspect. I'm a homebody, so being close to home and 6 hours away is better than anything. So, and I had got a scholarship here for volleyball, so that was a big indicator of coming here. And I just love the scenery here. It is so beautiful here, and the weather's just close to Arizona, so it was very nice, and it wasn't a big change. I don't really have a game day routine, but I would say from the start, getting ready and then going into the car, listening to music, jamming out, getting into the gym and warming up and making sure that I'm prepared. And then like 5 minutes before the game, I close my eyes, I visualize how I'm gonna play, and I go out and I just have energy. That's my big thing, is energy. I love having energy and I love being on the court with my teammates. I love country music, but I guess that's not really a game day routine music. I don't know, I would say just anything that's very crazy, uplifting. Serving wise for volleyball, I bounce the ball 3 times and then I spin it in my hand. So that is it's not really a ritual or something, but it's something I do every single serve I go back for. I do have a little superstition with putting my gear on. So I do put it on my left side first, then my right side. It's not like oh my gosh, I'm gonna mess up if I don't, but it is something I kind of like look after, I guess. So I would call it a superstition. I think a big positive thing is just being able to, instead of playing in the fall, we got to gain chemistry with the newbies and being able to function with the girls that we just got. And I feel like that's a big part of team chemistry, is a big part of just a team game in general. So I feel like that is huge. And just being able to play volleyball more and being with the seniors, we've been here so long and it's just crazy, and it's just exciting to know that we do have another season. So being here, I guess, a little longer is something that I take out as a positive thing. Going into D1 WAC, I just hope that we just go out with no fear. We want to win, so we just go out and we play our game. We know how to play volleyball. We know how our team works, and we just go out and have fun and play volleyball like we do.
I've had Jordan Nelson on my team for 4 years now. She's a senior, and so she's just one of those kids. I always use the word reliable, but you know, she's been a captain since her sophomore year. Always on time, always just honestly being a role model to not only the girls on the team, but just the program in general. She's just that steady kid that you can always count on. So I'm gonna miss Jo. Jo's a huge part of this team.
That was senior center Jordan Nilsson, and you know, what an impact she has had on this volleyball team over the years. As of right now, entering this season, she is 4th on Dixie State's career assists list. She's 5th in career digs, 8th in career assists per set, and tied for 8th in career aces. So she has left her name all over the volleyball record book, and she is poised for an even better 2020 season. You heard it from her coach, Robin Felder. She is a huge part of that team, and as a senior, she is going to be one of the leaders on that volleyball team. Expected to see a big performance from her in 2021. Up next, her little sister, a few years younger, McKenna Nilsson, is a sophomore here at Dixie State, and you know, she was obviously influenced to come here a little bit by her older sister. Just how much of an influence was Jordan in bringing McKenna to Dixie State? You'll find out in just a minute. Here is McKenna Nilsson, the little sister of Jordan Nilsson.
I grew up in the gym. My mom was a coach, so I started playing volleyball when I was a baby. I was just always around my older sister who played volleyball, and then my mom being a coach. So I kind of just was born into it, and I started playing at the club level when I was 6 years old, and just started from there and just loved it ever since, and I haven't stopped. So I chose to come to Dixie State. The main reason is because my sister goes here and she plays on the volleyball team with me. I got a volleyball scholarship, so that's also a main reason. And just getting to play with her is so much fun. And it's also very close to home. I'm from Arizona, so it's only 6 hours away. And it's just so beautiful here. I just love being able to go on adventures. There's so many hikes to do, and it's just so much fun to live here, honestly. I don't really have a game day routine. I think my biggest thing is just getting hyped. I love to just be it's so much fun to play, so just getting excited for the game and just getting ready to play is the biggest thing. And like Jordan said, listening to music. We like to listen to music in the car on the way to the game just to get ready. I think my favorite way to celebrate after a win is just going out to dinner with our family. We used to go out for high school after every home game we would go to dinner and just bring some of my teammates who were my closest friends, and all of our family would just go eat. And it was just so much fun to just all be together and just celebrate. I think one of my positive takeaways from COVID is just getting that extra year of eligibility. Like, a lot of people don't get this opportunity to play for 5 years. Like, some people get that redshirt year and then they're still there for 5 years, but they don't actually get to compete for 5 years. So getting that extra year to just play and play the game I love is just so, I just am so excited for it. And then also this time that we've gotten to prepare to go into D1 has been awesome. I think we've improved so much and we're just ready to take on the D1 level. My hopes for this spring season are just to go out and have fun. I think we have such a special group of girls and we're full of energy and we just love to play together. So I think taking that into the game and just knowing that we could honestly give any of these WAC teams a run for their money and just go in with that mindset and just have fun and just play like there's nothing to lose, honestly. Just play and have fun.
Yeah, you know, with them being sisters, they kind of come from the same mold. You know, McKenna's just a little bit younger. So I think honestly she's learned a lot from her sister as they've always played together and just trained. McKenna's just a little feistier and louder. Joe's just that like steady, constant presence. So, I mean, having McKenna in the gym once Joe leaves is a comfort because like I said, they come from the same mold. So I know McKenna's gonna bring us that same leadership.
And that was McKenna Nelson, a sophomore libero for this women's volleyball team. Last season, as a freshman, she exceeded expectations. She actually played in all 28 matches for the Trailblazers last season as their primary libero. As a freshman, in fact, she posted up some huge numbers in her freshman season. Double figures in digs in 26 out of 28 matches. She was an All-RMAC honorable mention. She racked up a career-high 27 digs. 27 digs and 3 aces in a 4-set win over UC Colorado Springs. That was back in October of last season. You know, the combination of Jordan and McKenna as sisters who are huge players on this women's volleyball team has been instrumental for the last couple of seasons in the Trailblazers' success. And obviously, head coach Robin Felder plays a big part of that. We'll hear from her in just a few minutes. But, you know, I loved hearing Jordan and McKenna talk about, you know, just kind of the sister dynamic that they have and being able to play on the same team as one another. And, you know, they come to the games in the same car and they listen to the music, you know, that hypes them up for the game in the car. It just would be such a fun dynamic to be able to share the college experience, not only with your sister, but, you know, be able to play volleyball, which you've loved and you've played. And I'm sure there's been many matches in the backyard of the Nelson household when they were growing up that was very fun, and a lot of those memories will carry on into Dixie State here on the volleyball team. But we've got to take another quick timeout. I mentioned we will talk to head coach Robin Felder of the volleyball team. She will give you her thoughts on this upcoming season in Division I and the hopes that she has for her Trailblazers in their first season in the Western Athletic Conference. Quick timeout and back right after this.
1, 2, 3, 4. 0.52 kilograms.
This graph is great.
Pretty close.
Artemisia is all the same pressure, but there's your needle and thread. Which one is this?
Come down. Turn phase, right? Sodium carbonate.
Radio Dixie 91.3. We don't play that. Nope, not that. A big fat no there. That's what we play. And stuff like that. On St. George's only alternative, Radio Dixie 91.3. Oh, and from 9 till midnight, we play this. I need a one dance. And this. Radio Dixie 91.3 FM.
Welcome back inside Trailblazer Weekly. I'm Drayson Ball, your host, as we continue on a Wednesday afternoon. And a couple days ago, we had the opportunity to sit down with head coach Robin Felder of the volleyball team, who is entering her 9th season at the helm for Dixie State. She's 137-84 over her tenure. Like I said, she is one of the most competitive coaches that I've ever met, and like I said, one of the best coaches around, especially when it comes to this women's volleyball team. They are competitive every single season, no matter how many players they lose. Robin Felder is talking about the upcoming season in Division I. They opened the season with New Mexico State, who was 16-0 last year. Robin Felder talks about how much of a measuring stick that game will be for the Trailblazers.
With our first season Division I think honestly we just want to feel prepared. So having this time this fall that it's not as crazy, it's not as hectic. Right now I can't imagine traveling with my team with what's going on in the world. So I think it just gives us a little bit more time to prepare. Our gym time has been huge. I feel like we've made huge strides with not only our upperclassmen, but our newbies. Generally our freshmen come in August and they got to go. So now they've just had this time to kind of adjust to our system and see how we coach, see how we do things. So I think that time's been huge for our youngsters, and honestly it's just going to help us be more prepared come January. With our conference opening up, we opened up at New Mexico State, and last year they were on the table 16-0. So that's a tall order for us, like, welcome to the WAC, okay, go play the best team. So I think that's kind of exciting for us, honestly, to first game see this is where the top is and see us kind of rise. You know me, I am competitive, so I don't think I've set the bar any lower, like, oh, we're Division I now, well, let's just try to win some games. I'm like, I want to win all our games. So I think it's just honestly that bar of excellence, and we've just tried to rise our level of play to what we're going to see. Preparation is preparation, whether it's watching film or whether it's just scout, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't really change depending on if you're playing a high school team or if you're playing, Stanford. I think just getting these kids ready to see what the level's going to be, getting kids to realize the bar's higher, these kids are hitting higher. It's more athleticism, it's more physical, so we just have to play our same game heightened. We're not doing anything differently. It's not like we're throwing out the Division II book and bringing in the Division I book. Everything kind of stays the same, but our level of execution has to be higher. This is a level up, so the kids don't make as many mistakes. You've got to earn your points. So I think we're just trying to fine tune that, like, we can't make those errors that we maybe were making before and got away with. We've just got to be a lot crisper, a lot cleaner at Division I. I think honestly us coming into a new conference, some of those teams we may be familiar with, but honestly at the end of the day, we have these 16 teams in our conference. Go win some games. I don't care what they were last year. I don't care where they stand nationally, whatever. That's the opponent on the other side. Go beat them up. So if we do the preparation before, if we scout them well, we can play with anybody for a certain amount of time. And hopefully that lasts 2 hours, and that's 5 sets, and we get ourselves prepared that we can beat anybody any day. So I think honestly just our preparation going into these matches, and just we have no target on our back, we have no pressure. Let's just go in and play volleyball. It's kind of a good feeling. Once we come back in January, we're going to be picking a starting lineup. We're going to be trying to develop chemistry with a starting group versus training and teaching. So I think right now is honestly the time that we're preparing for our season.
And what a tall task for this volleyball team will be when they open up the season on January 25th against New Mexico State. They'll play the Aggies twice on January 25th and the 26th in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And like you heard Robin mention, 16-0 last season. So the Trailblazers will get a warm welcoming, and I say warm very lightly, a warm welcoming into the Western Athletic Conference and Division I when they play New Mexico State here in about 2 months' time. Speaking of New Mexico State, we need to talk a little bit more about them because they are one of the more nationally recognized teams in the Western Athletic Conference. And after the break, we'll be introducing up a new segment we call WAC Walkthrough, where we're going to talk a little bit more about New Mexico State and what they mean in this Western Athletic Conference and how they compete. That will all be right after this timeout. We'll be back in just a few minutes on Trailblazer Weekly.
there's a rush coming.
Let's rush best 9 plays from last week in Region 9. Number 1 better be good.
One-handed grab, and Luke Wright is going to score a touchdown on one of the better grabs you'll ever see in high school football.
Lawrence, are you going to do anything, or are you just going to sit there?
This is Henry Bouchard, Cape Girardeau, Missouri. I never found a customer base more in need of fine American-made sucking power than I found up and down the Wasatch Front in the mid-1980s.
There's one thing coaches love, it's media guys telling them how good or bad their team is.
My pick for the 4A state championship this year when it comes to football is the Stansbury Stallions.
Give me a break. This isn't a contest about who can shovel the most corn silage. I like Pine View.
Today's show is brought to you by Rock Canyon Bank, serving Utah businesses and agriculture for over 25 years, with locations in Pleasant Grove, Orem, Provo, Spanish Fork, Fillmore, and at 94 East Tabernacle, right here in St. George. Rock Canyon Bank, back to banking. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back inside Trailblazer Weekly, and like I mentioned before the break, we have a new segment that we're going to display today and introduce to the fans today. We're going to call it the WAC Walkthrough. Obviously, Dixie State is brand new into the Western Athletic Conference, and so we'll do this from time to time, maybe every other week, every couple of weeks. So we'll go through and focus on one team in the WAC, and we'll talk about a little bit about their background, their history, where they're located, and kind of how they are competing at the Division I level and in the Western Athletic Conference. This week, like I mentioned, we're going to start with the New Mexico State Aggies, and they are, like I mentioned, one of the more nationally recognized teams in the Western Athletic Conference. Certainly, there are a few others that you can consider on that level, but let's just kind of get right into this. The New Mexico State Aggies, they are from Las Cruces, New Mexico, not too far from St. George, Utah. They have an enrollment of just over 24,000 students. So as far as, comparing them to Dixie State, almost double the number of students in enrollment for New Mexico State. And this season, Dixie State will see the Aggies a lot. They'll play them in football, men's basketball, women's soccer, and volleyball, like we mentioned. And, they're going to be this is going to be a team where in basically every sport, we're going to get a chance to see really where Dixie State measures up in each of the individual sports. Obviously, with football, they compete at the FBS, the Division I, FBS level. Dixie State obviously is the FCS independent, so they're the lower level of college football. But New Mexico State competes up at the highest level of Division I college football, and so it's going to be a good opportunity to see where Dixie State really matches up against a Division I FBS football team. For the football team, New Mexico State, they were just 2-10 last season in their football schedule. So it's going to be a good opportunity for this Dixie State football team to see, they were a good Division II football team last year, was Dixie State. How do they measure up against an FCS Division I team that wasn't maybe so good? Men's basketball, they are a perennially good team in the Western Athletic Conference. They have won 6 out of the last 7 Western Athletic Conference regular season titles. They are near the top of the standings basically every year. It's going to be one of those teams that Dixie State is going to have to go through each and every year. The women's basketball team, not a whole lot different. They've won the WAC 5 out of the last 6 seasons as well. Trailblazers will have to go through them for the foreseeable future. But that is our WAC walkthrough. Like I said, we'll do that from time to time, just going through each school in the Western Athletic Conference to get to know them just a little bit more. But just like that, that is our show today. We want to thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much to CEC and all of our great sponsors, the Dixie State Campus Store and Rock Canyon Bank. We want to make sure we recognize our great sponsors of this show. But that's it for us today. We'll see you next time. Go Trailblazers.